Hello and welcome back, all four of you. My name is Pilot Merchant, and you know that bump in the night? That sound of footsteps you swear is there, that faint knocking at your door. The very slight possibility that your house may very well be built on top of a sewage system that houses an entire species of ugly failed Shrek clone. Wait, what was that last part? An entire species of what? So today, my friends, I will be doing a film review. Why? Because this is my channel, you twat. Seriously though, I have always been a big fan of Brutal Moose's and JonTron's film reviews, and I've always wanted to give a film review my own kind of try. I've always wanted to upload one of some sorts and just see what happens. Now, for those of you who have either heard it as a kid or are avid children's book readers, talking to you, Sarah, in second year. You may have heard of a storybook by the name of Fungus the Bogeyman, but for those of you who are like me and haven't heard of it and didn't read it at all whenever you were a kid, let me tell you a bit about it. Fungus the Bogeyman was originally written and illustrated by esteemed English author Raymond Briggs, who is better known for his work on The Snowman, which funnily enough is a book without words. But unlike its mute storybook sibling, Fungus the Bogeyman has quite a few words in it, and boy oh boy, do those words have meaning. But that's enough about the book. What about the film? Well, staying rather true to the original work, Fungus the Bogeyman is a short episodic series. Wait, did I not mention that? It's a 3-part episodic series, but it's also a film whenever put all together. It's rather confusing, to be honest. I'm not sure why they decided to, release it like this, but hey, to each their own. Anyways though, the series follows Fungus, who is a bogeyman. Essentially, his entire job pretty much consists of being a dick to humans, which is irritating because I've been doing it for free all this time. But even the simplest of jobs have that nitwit who just can't seem to get it right. And unfortunately for Fungus, that nitwit is him. Throughout the film, we follow him around, watching as he struggles to balance his work life, his home life, and his jackass son that I don't like at all named Mold. Overall, it's a rather heartwarming classic. Now, without any other further ado, ladies and gentlemen and days, I present to you Fungus the Bogeyman. We open up on an admittedly very confusing scene of Fungus doing a good old B&E to scare some poor old lady.
I'm sure I heard someone. Come right to bed. Get to make a drink.
Who apparently needs her midnight shot of vodka. While snooping around outside, he comes upon the door of the house that he for some reason already has the key for. He then heads inside the house and begins to play with the goldfish. Are you sure this is his job? Just when he finishes playing with his new fish friend, he goes to turn the corner where all of a sudden he gets caught, as we see him quickly running away like the coward he is. I just wanted to see him eat her. Is that really too much to ask for? We transition to the most horrid title screen I've ever seen. As Fungus makes his way home on his trusty bicycle, we hear him giving himself some self-criticism, none of which seems to be incomplete sentences, mind you. Hey Fungus, what do you think a film about you would be like?
Not good. Definitely not good.
Yeah, I agree. The only things of value we actually get from this scene are being able to see Fungus's complete character, and we get to take a pretty good look at his actual city. Now, throughout the film, we get this very strong indication that the Bogey Society, as it's called, is supposed to be almost a parody of humans, but they tend to hate everything that humans do and strive to be different, where humans like being, washed and clean, and we praise showering and, not smelling like literal fungus. The Bogey Society pretty much prides himself on not being, clean. Their entire thing is supposed to be this nasty sewer system sort of thing, and pretty much rebelling against all of the concepts of humanity's actual creation, for the most part. Now, don't focus too much on this theme. Just keep it in the back of your head as we continue on, and we'll talk about it later. Fungus arrives home, and in the background it's easy to hear his neighbor Guns speaking with his son Grot. Just as Fungus goes to head inside, Guns decides that at this very moment it would be a good idea to start bragging about his son. Also in the conversation is the first time we hear anything about Fungus's son, Mold.
Heard about young Grot's exam results then? Oh, pleased as pigs we were. Hear your Maud didn't do so well. Be very disappointed.
Ah, well, doing poorly on an exam isn't that bad.
Yes, well, he may not be a genius.
You come back here. Mold. Yeah, well, I'm going out. Mold.
Never mind. After watching Mold trudge off for unexplained reasons, Fungus's wife, who from this point on I will be referring to as because the film never gave her an actual name. So yeah, tries talking to Fungus about her concerns with Mold's well-being, all the while Fungus just looks like he doesn't care at all.
What would his grandfather have said about that? Or his great-grandfather? Or his great-great-grandfather?
Ah, that's right, kids. Why be your own person and explore the person that you want to be when you can be just like the rest of your family and never do something different from the norm? Like I said before, Fungus throughout the scene is pretty much disregarding every concern tossed his way. Notices this as well and begins to question him about it.
What's got into you today?
Nearly got caught up top.
Ah, yes, I could see how almost getting murdered could sour the mood a bit. After a brief scene of Han doing her absolute best to cheer Fungus up.
Come on, darling. Everyone has a bad day. Now and then.
Really? That's your best? Okay, good try, then. We shift focus over to Mold, hanging out with the local good/bad boys. It's kinda hard to determine what I should be calling them, considering the trope about, you know, the bogey society being separate and different from humans, so would they be good? Would they be bad? I'm not really sure. Anyways though, in this scene we meet the lovely characters Stinch and Scab. Stinch being the leader of the group of good/bad boys.
Oh, I'll tell you that when we get there.
And Scab, well, he's just being a goddamn legend. After the ugliest transition I've ever seen, we are brought into the real world where we are instantly greeted with the most heartwarming family I've ever seen.
And they're gonna come in the middle of the night and they're gonna eat you. Ah, you're scaring me!
Just calm down.
It's bedtime, both of you.
But I don't go to bed for another hour.
Well, start acting like a 13-year-old. You don't have a 13-year-old's bedtime.
Oh, come on!
Pop it.
Ah, how touching. After the children are sent to bed, George and his wife, who also doesn't have a name, so from now on I will be referring to as Wah. George and Wah head over to the kitchen in which we see a pantry full of cleaning supplies. I feel like the film is trying to not so subtly hint at Wah's slight addiction to drain cleaner, but hey, I don't judge. Also, everyone who I've shown this film to so far can't help but to notice that Wah takes off her gloves to put on another pair and just... why? Anyways, as Wah starts cleaning the kitchen, George stands in the doorway being absolutely no help at all. Seriously, all he's doing is just complaining about columns in the newspaper. Like, dude, all you've done is slightly dust off the sofa. And just as quickly as we came to the surface world, we're sent back down to the steaming pile of bogey feces that is the Bogey Society. In this scene, Fungus's family sits down in their slimy kitchen and have breakfast. We meet Mucus, Fungus's daughter, who decides to ask him if he's talked to Mold yet about his spotty behavior, in which Fungus simply comes up with an excuse. After a few more seconds of family banter, Mold walks into the room and... his mother just starts roasting the absolute fuck out of him.
Your father's not pleased. I can tell you that for nothing. It's all bad if you were doing well at school. But look at you. Hardly a speck anywhere. You've been using deodorant, haven't you? No.
Mold storms off to his room and Hart tells Fungus to go talk to him. Once in the room, Fungus tries his best to talk to Mold like an actual decent father.
A good bogey. Nice and dirty.
Fungus, you sick bastard! In the main parts of this lecture, Fungus talks to Mold about needing to do better in school, which makes sense. Or does it? I mean, think about it. This is the Bogey Society. It's supposed to be separate and different from humans. Wouldn't it be more logical for them to, you know, not care too much about school? In fact, why is school even in existence down here? They should be doing something like a bogey training camp or something like that, but like it should be a little bit more hands-on instead of actually being an entire school. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting hung up on the wrong things. In the last part of the scene, Fungus really shows how out of touch he is with not only his son and his family, but also his job, all with one single line delivered from Mold.
You want to grow up to be a proper bogeyman like me?
Like you.
Now that he's finally finished fathering Mold, Fungus is finally off to work, but not without saying goodbye to his wife, of course.
Yes, probably just a phase.
You know, they're honestly quite cute together.
But my love.
After that loving moment. We have the most iconic line in the entire film. George's son, who I think is named Captain, is unable to sleep because his loving sister Jessica was doing her best to frighten him earlier. Unsurprisingly, it worked, and so now he's sat up in bed afraid of sleeping. Cue in George, who, as his loving father, attempts to calm his son down.
Trust me on this. I'm a journalist.
Ah yes, because journalists have always proven themselves to be the most trustworthy sources. As Fungus rides back to the real world on his trusty ring cycle, he is abruptly stopped by Guns, who wants to spend the workday scaring people with Fungus, probably so he can brag more about his son, honestly. Unsurprisingly, Fungus declines his offer because Guns is a jerk. Though he didn't actually say that, that's just my own opinion. A little while after his encounter with Guns, Fungus is pictured in one of the most relatable film scenes I have ever seen in my life. Fungus in this scene starts to question his role in life.
Why do we do this? You go woo, they scream, same thing every night for 40 years. Get old, do the garden, retire, die.
You know, I've never really been one to say mood, but just mood. So Mold and Mucus are on their way to school when they are stopped by none other than Mold's friends, who are just bloody delightful as always. Right before this terribly disgusting handshake of friendship, I sincerely hope Fungus didn't do that to the goldfish. We overhear that apparently the boys have been up to something nefarious, but that will have to wait because we have school to get to. Now, one thing that has been confusing me for the entirety of this film is the fact that all of the bogies in Bogey Society will actually refer to humans as dry cleaners. Now, the film doesn't really do much to explain why they're referred to as dry cleaners, but in this scene in particular in school, we do get to hear a little bit about what the bogey believe about humans and why they are afraid of us, and to be fair, I could kind of see where they're coming from.
The dry cleaner is the most dangerous and violent animal a bogey will ever come across. They are always waging war on one another or reading about these wars in their newspapers. They are always watching films about people being killed or reading books about people being killed. Dry cleaner children even play games in which they pretend to kill one another.
Yeah, that doesn't really paint us in the best picture, does it? After class, we are finally shown what the Bogey Boys nefariously did. Don't you see how clean that statue is? They've gone too far this time. And I'm not the only one upset over this. I mean, look at poor Grot over here. He gets so upset that he just starts bullying Mold. That doesn't seem like him. Fortunately for Mold, however, his new bound Bogey brother steps in to help him out. Unfortunately for Mold, however, he dictates that the next best course of action would be to take out 2 literal illegal items. Unsurprisingly, he immediately gets sent to the headmaster's office and suspended from school. Cutting back to Fungus's busy night of work, we see him entering George's family's house. We know this because literally no one on Earth has this much cleaner boudoir. As Fungus starts to do his bogey thing, gross, we watch as Jessica wakes up and starts to make her way downstairs with her glass of OJ. Tensions then start to rise a little bit as we see Fungus and Jessica enter the same room. As Jessica stands rinsing out her glass, she starts to smell Fungus, who is probably covered in fungus himself, considering he never washes. Come to think of it, why is she only smelling him just now opposed to when they were literally in the same room together not even a minute ago? Also, come to think of it, considering none of the bogies ever wash at any point unless they're rebelling against their species and their rules, why haven't more of them been caught from this, you know, methodology before? I mean, can you even imagine how poorly they smell after living inside a sewer and never ever washing anything ever? In an attempt to hide from Jessica, Fungus seeks refuge in the cleaning pantry but inevitably fails to keep himself locked in there. With no other options left, Fungus darts out of the house as quickly as possible, foolishly running towards the sewage system that leads back down to the Bogey Society. Unbeknownst to him, Jessica was also running towards his now discovered escape route. Shortly after her high-speed pursuit chase, Jessica returns to her home in which her parents are anxiously waiting for her. They're obviously rather upset with her, and rightfully so too. Do you not notice you ran out in her slippers?
She's got mud on her slippers, George.
Ah, how despicable. After trying to explain to her parents what she saw in the pantry and why she chased it out of the house, Captain comes downstairs because of all the noise and starts to express his concern over the possibility it was a bogeyman that broke into their home.
I don't want to be eaten by a bogeyman.
Oh, don't worry, little guy. It wasn't probably a bogeyman. it most certainly was one. After George points out his son and Wah threatens to have a rap battle with Jessica,
I'll have word with you later.
we return to the sewer where we find that Fungus has returned home and has found out that Mold has been suspended. After Ha tells Fungus to beat him,
Why don't you try and knock some sense into that thick green head of his?
and Fungus does some grade A parenting,
Listen to your mother.
Fungus too also gets in trouble with Ha. Ha then shows Fungus that somehow Mold managed to get his webbed finger toes on a couple of telly guides somehow, at which Fungus responds in the most mature way possible. He starts to blame himself. I mean, after seeing his parenting skills, I can't really argue that I think that he's a good parent, but he's definitely not the cause of all of this behavior. Fungus tells Ha about him almost getting caught again, in which she pretty much responds to it the exact same way she did earlier.
Oh, darling.
Seriously, you're not helping! After another seemingly pointless conversation with Ha, Fungus and Ha are laying down in bed when all of a sudden Fungus gets another brilliant parenting idea. Please, Fungus, please stop having ideas. Please. Cue Fungus attempting to poke Mold in the head, but not quite contacting it. He wakes Mold up to tell him his new brilliant plan and just... watch.
Time to get up.
But I don't have to go to school today.
So we're going on a trip instead. Up top.
Up top!
Hey, that's right. When your son is doing terrible in certain courses, you should push him to the big leagues immediately. Now look, son, I know you're doing poorly in physics and all, but I decided that the best way to help you would be making you fly a literal helicopter. So Fungus and Mold head downstairs to enjoy some breakfast before their stupidly dangerous expedition when all of a sudden, Ha walks in and decides to ask what's going on. Fungus, finally making a wise decision in the film, is honest with Ha. This quite reasonably scares the living shit out of Ha.
If anything happens to this boy...
Nothing is going to happen.
The fuck was that? Eventually, Fungus and Mold head outside the sewer and, quite naturally, Mold is terrified of literally everything at first. Of course, though, he does get used to it after Fungus helps him to calm down a bit, and they mosey off. After some light-hearted father and son bonding time, if you consider trying to scare human beings and then eating a moldy breaded slime sandwich dipped in grime light-hearted, it's finally time to head back to the Bogey Society. When coming upon their sewer entrance, they notice that a canteen is sat resting nearby the entrance. Though the thermos is rather warm and Fungus himself notes that there's likely a human nearby, they drop a slug in it and continue back to their home. Just when they almost reach the barn that contains the not-so-secret entrance, Jessica suddenly jumps out of nowhere. In an effort to save himself and his son, Shrek does the roar and runs past Jessica. Mold attempts to follow suit but gets too frightened by the sight of a 13-year-old girl and ultimately runs away. In essence, Fungus has fucked up. And that's it. I'm not kidding, that's literally how it ends. It ends on Mold running away and then Fungus chases him looking for where his son went. And yeah, that's it. Like I said before, this is a 3-part series, so it kind of makes sense. But this is why it should have all been one film. But at the end of the day, what about this entire episode was actually constructed? I mean, while making the script for this video and going through everything, just being able to create this review, out of all those scenes, only about 20, actually I think 19 actually made the final cut. And that's because a lot of the scenes in the film were just filler at the end of the day. It was like 30-second scenes at the very maximum, and they would like cut into a different part just to kind of show a reflection of like the Bogey Society and the real world. And it would almost be better if they didn't have those filler scenes and just allowed the film to flow naturally. But of course they didn't, because this isn't a very good film at the end of the day. All the same though, I still rather did enjoy it, but that's ideally because I enjoy watching like not so good films and shows and things like that. I don't know, I'm a bit of a masochist, I suppose. But if you are also one of those people that very much enjoy watching those bad films or bad shows or whatever, please do consider going to give them a view and a like and just, you know, watching it for yourself. Don't try to comment though, they turn those off for some reason. Now, other than that, that's all I have for you guys today. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please in the comments tell me what you enjoyed about it. If you want to see more content like this, or you want to see just more reviews in the future kind of written in the same, I don't know, style or whatever, feel free to let me know down in the comments. And just, yeah, that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. Yeah, there are.